Hello and welcome. This is Sunny. Today we're going to talk about expense tracking. But before we talk about that, just look at that. Look at how cool is that. Their summer is coming and they're testing out if the system is working right. I'm definitely gonna come back to expense tracking. Just give it a second. This is such a great thing. Looks like we're gonna shoot Game of Thrones last episode. I mean, I wish we reshot it, but okay. Whoa, it's back again. So, today we're going to talk about a new habit. Look at that cool background going on there. That I started in this year, January the 1st, as one of the New Year resolution. I heard about it somewhere, read about it somewhere, and I'm like, this is really cool. So basically what you do here is, every single day, when you wake up, and every single thing that you spend money on, could be as little as $1, you open you keep any note app. Maybe I use Keep. You can use any notes app and keep a track of like what you're spending your money on and how much it is. At the end of the day, when you go to bed, you just add up everything that you did and make a total for that day, right? That's all you do. That's all you have to do. Now, I think it really helps me in a lot of ways with this beautiful exercise. I don't think it should be done like all the time. It's time consuming for that, but it's a good exercise to do once in a while. And if you want to try it, I would really encourage it. Do it and you'll get to know a lot of stuff about yourself, about your habits, about your spending habits, about things you do, and stuff like that. So actually, let's walk through 5 points. 5 points that I think were really helpful that I took out from this exercise, and probably you'll love it too. So first of all, the one thing is it makes you sometimes not spend money when everything takes effort. If you have to write it down, everything, remember everything you want to spend, sometimes you're like, you're just walking by and there's a line and you don't really need a coffee, and then you're like, oh God, you're waiting in the line, you're like, I also need to write this down, I don't really need it, let's just walk out. I know, we're starting with the absolute minimum value add, okay? Like, this is the frustration of writing something down or remembering something. Also kind of makes you like, it's one more step in spending that, like every step that goes into doing something, it makes you not want to do it. This is one more step. So it just adds one more step in your spending process. But this is the least value add step. Believe me, we'll move ahead from here. So the second point that it helps is makes you aware. Makes you aware of what you're doing. So I don't know how much you manage your budget, but if you already know what you earn on an average by month, so you divide it by weeks, by days, how much you're earning, how much you want to save, so you know how much your expense should be on an ideal basis. So you can compare to that, and okay, look at that once more. Isn't that cool? So you want to be aware of how much you're doing. So sometimes, let's say it's a fun night, you just went out, it's just 7 p.m. and you notice that you're already like $60 over your budget. So that's a sign like, just to see where I am, and just not keep going with what you're doing, and being aware of where you are in the goal of spending in that day. And if you overrun your budget, it's just like if you track a project, right? If you only look at things in hindsight, you only find out in hindsight what you did. But if you're doing on the go, you're figuring out where I am. Like, I know it's like, don't overdo it, but if you want to do it, like, it's half the day and you're like 70-80% of your budget, like, you don't have to change your lifestyle for the rest of the day, but you have to just be aware, which takes me to the third point. Not every dollar is equal, and you really, really get to appreciate this point, because in two ways, actually, 3A, 3B. A is not every dollar is equal on how much time it lasts. For example, you spend $40 on a shoe, $60 on a shoe, that thing may last you 4 months, 6 months, 3 months, I don't know, somewhere around that. So that's like a $60 for 6 months. That's like a $10 a month. That's 30 cents per day cost. Versus when you go to an expensive restaurant just by yourself, I don't know, you may still have a really good time, which is 3B, but the moment the food is in, you don't even have to wait for your digestive system to get it through. The moment the food is in, or the taste is in, your stomach is full, you spend that $60 probably in 60 minutes. So that's $1 a minute. Now, again, doesn't mean you have to change anything. It just tells you all expenses are different and how much do they last in value is really different. And it makes you think, like someday you might be spending $150 and you're like, what did I do today? Actually, nothing. I had one good hour, but I don't know. Nothing that I did would actually last anything more beyond today. So that's 3A. How much long does your expense last? The benefit of your expense last. And 3B is how much height do you get out of it, right? So maybe you got just 1 hour of, benefit out of your one day of spending, but you really had a good time versus you don't even notice at all. That's very different. So looking back, I just don't look at like 3A, which is like how permanent were the benefits, or how less temporary were the benefits of every dollar I spent today. But also 3B, how much happy did I become as a result of spending that? So if it's like 2 weekends, if I spent like $200 last weekend, let's say example, and $120 this weekend, and last weekend I don't remember anything, and 120 this week is I was really happy and I did something that was really worthwhile, I would take a mental note of what I did right. Like I didn't have to necessarily spend more to have a good time, but if I did something I really enjoyed and it also went with my plan, awesome. So that's 3B. The whole third point is really very important, which is you start to realize how different days you spend equal money, but it's not equally worth. Sometimes you have more permanence benefits out of your expense, and sometimes you have higher highs. So you know what is the better expense for you. If you really, really, really enjoy breakfast, then that's one thing. You're like, okay, it costs me just $4 or $5 a day, but it gives me real happiness. But on the other side, you can think, I don't know, like if your breakfast is almost 70% of how much your lunch costs, and you're like barely full in a breakfast and you don't even enjoy it, you had it just because you're used to it, versus having a good lunch. You should rather have a good lunch, which fills you up, makes you feel better, and makes you go to a restaurant you don't usually go to because you run out of your budget going out to those breakfasts, So it helps. This whole third point is the biggest point. I know I said we'll go in the order, but not necessarily ascending order. Fourth thing is, if you're like a nerd like me, it makes you at the end of the week or at the end of the month, you could just export and put everything in an Excel and see the charts and see where your spending habits are. So right now, the whole point of doing this is that you may spend on different things using different credit cards, on different rewards, different debit cards, different cash, and or Venmo other people. But right now, there doesn't exist one platform that at least I know of, that at least I use, that is very friendly in a way that it keeps me in real time updated in a number in one nutshell. So we're doing this now. It would be really fun if you export to Excel, see your behavior habits. You can ask for my model that I use that helped me know a lot more. But this benefit would be way easier to get in a bit. I'm sure some fintech company would come up with this and give you a lot more insight, not just where you spend, not just the category of the spend, not just, not all those things. What I want to know is insights about how much like you rate for yourself, like 1 to 5, how much happy did it make me, what was the permanence, and would I do it again, or stuff like that. That makes you rank your spending, that makes you rank the return on your investment, so to speak. Then fifth, the last point is that basically, I don't know if you keep your budget, but as I said, if you keep a budget, it tells you whether you're on your budget or not. And that's a big thing. So it's like just like any other project that you manage, right? If you spend everything you need to spend and then you see what work did I achieve, oh my god, my work is not finished, but I spent the whole budget, oh, this is too late. What you're doing through this is you're actively managing as you go. So like if you half your day, you have to spend half your budget, that's like tracking the project as you go in real time. So it gives you a new mindset of viewing at what you spend, not just in actuals and in hindsight, but proactively where you are and how much you are and where would you end up. So all these are the benefits. I think this was really helpful to me. Again, not something that I would do necessarily all the time. It takes up somewhat time and somewhat mind and frustration and effort. But it is good to do for some time. You can do it for, like I started January 1st of this year. I just stopped doing it. I thought it was really helpful and I think you should do it too. Let me know how you feel. This was expense tracking. I did a video on it. Looking forward to your inputs and what you have to gain out of it. See you.